I greet you in Jesus' precious name. I thank God that we are together in spirit and in unity of the faith, and it's a wonderful joy to greet you this morning. Indeed, the question that rings out throughout the whole world is, who is the greatest? That is a question that so many are desirous of seeking answers for. We live in a self-centered world. We are bankrupt with leaders. There's no sacrificial leaders anymore. And the civic voice is almost dead. Nations clamor, who is the greatest? Community asks the question, who is the greatest boxer? Who is the greatest writer? Who is the greatest politician? And everyone is asking with a heightened ego, who is the greatest? All searching to get some identity with the things that they do to portray themselves as the greatest in the world. After this brief talk this morning, I encourage you to decide who is the greatest and how you feel compared to the greatest. You may think you are in your own eyes, but there is a higher calling towards who is the greatest. This question is not a strange question. Jesus Christ was confronted with this same question from his own disciples. We read in Mark chapter 9, verses 33 to 35. The question, who is the greatest? After they arrived at Capernaum and settled in a house, Jesus asked his disciples, "What were you discussing out on the road?" Jesus was attentive to what they were discussing out on the road. What are you discussing today? Verse 34. But they didn't answer because they had been arguing. They had been arguing about which of them was the greatest. He sat down. Jesus sat down, called the 12 disciples over to him and said, this is how Jesus answered the question, who is the greatest? Whoever wants to be first must take last place and be the servant of everyone else. That is the answer to who is the greatest. We have many Barabbas leaders today, obnoxious people who want to be the greatest. They have that syndrome, first in the line. Even if they enter a banqueting house, they'll sit closest to the buffet. They will cut the line to get there, for they want to be the greatest and served first. The obnoxious leader is a self-centered person, a person who thinks for themselves. The PPE scandal that is facing our country is a very apt case. To be the greatest, they want to be great. They want to be great. They do not mind licking the boots of those that are above them and tramping those that are below them to be the greatest. Self-absorbed people can only see the faults of others, but are colorblind to their own. I pray today that you will be a person that will not be an obnoxious leader who wants to be the greatest amongst them. Jesus Christ spoke about servant leadership. He said the one that serves needs to deserve to be the greatest. To be a servant leader, you need to value diverse opinions. You need to be able to forego your own feelings like Abraham did, and he gave Lot the option of choice just to cultivate trust and oneness. We need to be servant leaders today. To be great, you need to develop other leaders. If you develop other leaders, you'll find yourself becoming a person that needs to serve. Serving others. Others, Lord, let this my motto be. To be the greatest, you need to help others to grow into their calling. You need to encourage them. You need to sell trust and build trust in people. God bless you as you continue to think beyond yourself. Think you, not me. Serve everyone else before you need to be served. Jesus Christ came to serve and not to be served. Who is the greatest? For you to be great, you need to decrease and Christ needs to increase. John 3:30 says, He must increase, but I must decrease. He must become greater and greater, and I must become less and less. I pray that the I syndrome will die. Who is the greatest? Jesus Christ indeed set an example. In John chapter 13, verses 1 to 15, we read of the account where Jesus washed the disciples' feet to demonstrate reality. He came to serve and not to be served. Today we really require sacrificial leaders. Who is the greatest? Who is the greatest? Jesus Christ, the sacrifice, the self-sacrifice that He made. In John chapter 15, verse 13, greater love has no man than this, that he will lay his life down for his friends. To be the greatest, you need to lay your life down for a cause that is worthy of the high calling, to ensure that you serve not only your family, not only the church, but serve society in a true way, that you need to lay your life down. Jesus Christ, the greatest of all, who set a perfect example that you and I could emulate, that you and I could follow, so that we could be able to be the salt and light of the earth as the greatest leader. God bless you as you continue to read Mark chapter 10, verses 35 to 45. Jesus Christ, the greatest of all, who came as a ransom. We were guilty. He came as a ransom. Jesus Christ came as a ransom. He did not come to be served, but to serve. He gave His life for many, that all who come within the ambit of His love will enjoy the fellowship of this greatest leader. The world asks, who is the greatest? Who is the greatest? The greatest is the person that is able to serve. Servanthood, sacrificial leadership. Then who is the greatest? The one that does the will of the Father. I pray today that you will do the will of the Father. And as you do the will of the Father, you will continue to grow in Him. And as you grow in Him, you will abide in Him. And as you abide in Him, you will draw from the wells of living water, the Word of God. I pray that God would bless you. God would keep you as you serve, as your ego will be suppressed, as your personal desires will be suppressed, and the only desire that you have is to serve the great King. God bless you and keep you. May He strengthen you daily to know who is the greatest. So the question I leave with you today, who is the greatest? If you do want to become great, you need to learn to serve before you deserve to be the greatest. God bless you, God keep you, and may you enjoy this Sunday.